Okay, I wasn't going to say anything for a while. I've been feeling another rant overdue, and we're just going to call it a riot in the Capitol. Kind of made me want to say something to a lot of people. A lot of people aren't going to watch this, I don't care. Now, just to put this in perspective for anybody who sees this, that I know at least one person is going to say, well, what about Black Lives Matter? Yes, they rioted too. They did. They destroyed private property. They interrupted a lot of people's lives and cost a lot of people that did them nothing a lot of money. You know what didn't happen to the people in the Capitol that happened to Black Lives Matter? They weren't arrested en masse. They weren't shot at en masse. They weren't tear gassed en masse. They were nicely escorted off the premises after they started killing a couple policemen. I don't know what the total policeman death is now. I believe there's also one suicide. But there's total disparity there. Moving on. So I've seen a couple things on Facebook, heard people say things like, well, these people are patriots. Well, these people are fighting a tyrant. Well, first off, no, they're not. Because the original patriots in the American Revolution didn't hurt people until they had zero options left. In fact, one of the most famous things that happened during the American Revolution, which we all learned about, which was the Boston Tea Party, they essentially dumped what is the modern equivalent of $3 billion of tea overboard. Didn't even so much as scuff a boot of the people that were on that ship and in charge of that tea. What they did peacefully as possible, as expensively as possible, to make England act like tyrants, so that they could get everybody on their side and realize, hey, this is a real problem now. This is what they've been telling us all about. What the people in the Capitol did doesn't make any sense to anybody that has half a thinking mind. They weren't protesting a tyrant because if they were, they're a little bit early. Biden isn't there yet. If they were protesting Bush, not Bush. Wow, flashbacks. If they're protesting Trump, they're a little bit late because he's on his way out of office, whether he likes it or not. They weren't standing up for freedom because, as they proved on their own, they're pretty free. You'll have to excuse my cat. He's needy right now. They're pretty free because they got to walk in, destroy a bunch of shit on a federal site, and walk out for the most part. There were a couple casualties, and I think less than a dozen at current count. Most of them police. There was one rioter, that was shot after a police officer was brained with a fire extinguisher and killed. So, who saw that coming? Now, there's further stories that there's going to be similar riots, violence, whatever you want to call them, in most, if not all, of the state capitals once Biden takes office. This is monumentally dumb. Not only are you going to hurt people who just want to go about their lives and don't want part of the whole left versus right thing and just are fine with the way things are, you're going to hurt people that aren't fine with the way things are, that are actually starting to gain a little bit of traction and start getting listened to. All that's going to go right out the window. Because now all of a sudden, if you say anything bad, there's going to be this whole trail of bodies right behind it say, well, you shouldn't be saying that stuff. You're going to be like them. On either side. Either you're going to be a rioter that's been shot, or you're going to be a defender that's been shot. That's what people are going to use for justification for years. And secondly, those of you saying that Biden's going to take our guns, they have been saying that for 20 years, maybe longer. Haven't done it yet. Nobody's done it yet, but this could very well give them the ammo they need, pun intended, to slam dunk a whole bunch of gun control legislature because you guys can't seem to keep control of yourselves long enough to go, maybe storming a federal site isn't the way to go about these things. Maybe storming where federal, state, city, police, and freaking army all coincide in one spot is a bad idea. As a final note, if anybody watches this that's planning to go back during the inauguration day, I just want you to remember one thing. Just one thing. I want you to remember how tanks work.